everyone, I'm Michael. Welcome to today's class. Since 2017, the news has kept pouring in about Mobike and Ofo. The two largest bike-sharing startups in China were in talks about a merger. The public discussed the promising end of this competitive battle between them. However, investors denied the implementation of a merger. On December 13, 2017, an investor of Mobike stated in an interview that he was open-minded toward the merger. Will they be the next couple, like Meituan and Dianping, or Didi and Kuaidi? What would be some motives for companies to consider a merger? We are going to talk about three things in today's lesson. First, what are mergers and acquisitions? Second, how do mergers and acquisitions affect companies, employees, and customers? Third, case studies. Someone smiles and someone cries. There's a lot to talk about for mergers and acquisitions. Let's start by defining some key terms. So, what does mergers and acquisitions, or M&A, mean? M&A refers to the joining of companies or assets. In all forms of M&A, two companies are involved. M&A can include mergers, acquisitions, and assets. We'll talk about these three terms now. Let's first look at merger. A merger is when two existing companies unite into one new company. They unite on broadly equal terms. Companies that merge are about equal in size, customer base, market share, and so on. Some reasons for a merger include reducing costs, expanding into new markets, and growing revenues. We will discuss these reasons later in detail. We know that merger is a noun. Let's look at what our course says to see how we can use the verb merge. To merge means to combine or come together. Those two companies used to be competitors, but now they have merged into one company. Let's now look at acquisition. An acquisition takes place when one company purchases another. Unlike a merger, a new company does not emerge. Instead, the assets of the acquired company become part of the acquiring company. Sometimes, acquisitions are called takeovers. This term is often used if the acquired company resists being bought. Acquisition is a noun. Let's look at what our course says about the verb acquire. To acquire means to buy or take possession. Let's move on to the final term, assets. Before companies merge, assets, as well as liabilities, need to be carefully examined. Let's look at what our course says about assets and liabilities. Assets are what you own, and liabilities are what you owe. Knowing the assets and liabilities of a company helps determine a company's value. Assets and liabilities are measured against each other to see if a company is worth acquiring. This means if the value of a company's assets is greater than its liabilities, other companies may strongly consider acquiring it. If the value of its liabilities is greater than its assets, they probably will not acquire it. Now that we know what mergers and acquisitions are, let's talk about their purposes. One of the most common reasons for a merger is for internal growth. let's look at what our course says about how a company can grow. Some big companies grow by acquiring other companies. A company may not grow fast enough through internal expansion. A merger can create balanced growth. Also, growth through merging is cheaper and less risky. Mergers can also increase market share without putting in the work themselves. It can be better to merge with a company in a new market rather than trying to start from scratch. Basically, companies can have a wider customer base overnight through merging. One such instance was when Japan's Takeda pharmaceutical company acquired Nycomed in Switzerland. This was done in order to speed market growth in Europe. Another reason for M&A is survival. Many companies merged during the global financial crisis from 2008 to 2012 in order to survive. Their companies were dying. If companies didn't do this, other companies may have put them out of business. Synergy is another reason for M&A. Synergy refers to the value of the merged companies being greater than the values of the individual companies. Basically, 1 plus 1 equals more than 2. The idea behind synergy is to increase performance and decrease costs by combining business activities. So, a business will try to merge with another business that has complementary strengths. An example of this is Mattel and Hasbro, both of which are leaders in the toy industry. These two companies recently have had discussions of a merger. If they merge, both companies could work together to produce different toys under the same roof. Instead of DC Toys versus Marvel Toys, it would be DC Toys and Marvel Toys. Also, some companies consider M&A to diversify products or services, and thus gain a competitive edge in the market. This is typically the reason why companies or different industries merge. For example, HP acquired Electronic Data Systems, or EDS, to improve the services aspect of their technology. There are many reasons behind each M&A deal, but is everyone happy about the result? Let's move on to talking about how mergers and acquisitions impact companies, employees, and customers. There can be both positive and negative impacts on a company. We have already discussed positive reasons for why companies would merge. So, let's just focus on the negative impacts now. In a merger, a company's identity, heritage, reputation, and culture are at the risk of loss. Every company has its own identity and culture. In order to cooperate, companies may need to compromise and lose some of their culture in order to successfully work together. Let's see an example of this from our course. They plan to merge with a much larger company, so they will lose their identity. Another negative impact is brain drain. For a company, brain drain simply means talented individuals leave the company. If valuable employees feel underused or undervalued in the new company structure, they may search for other opportunities. This situation is also mentioned in our course. When the two companies merged, some of their best people left and started another company. Employees will also be greatly affected by a merger. Companies which are struggling may merge to save their company. This will in turn save the jobs of the employees working there. Additionally, new training and skills may be required, which can lead to training opportunities for staff. Also, there may be new positions available which weren't available before. This means that skilled employees will have more options to climb the career ladder. However, these can be disadvantages. New training is often required to ensure employees of merging companies are on the same page. This can be a disadvantage because employees may need to relearn a job they've done for a long time. This means they may have trouble adjusting to the new way of doing things. Furthermore, certain positions may no longer be needed, or they may have too many staff members in one department. This can lead to job cuts. Let's look at one example of this from our course. When the two companies merged, many people were laid off. Also, the fear of job cuts can lead to increased stress among staff. Not only companies and its employees will be influenced by a merger, but customers can also be affected. A merger can affect the customers in several ways, including price, quality, and overall satisfaction. Prices may benefit or hurt the customer. A merger can mean there are fewer competitors in the market. This, in turn, means a company could potentially charge more for their product. Alternatively, it could bring more savings to the customer if previous costs are reduced because of the merger. For quality, a merged company possibly can deliver better products or services. Also, there may be more options than there were previously. Services may become more efficient, so products and services may be delivered quicker than before. But overall customer satisfaction may vary. Sometimes, a newly merged company may experience problems with customer service. This is because many customer service representatives are often laid off. Fewer customer service representatives make it harder for customers to get answers to questions. Moreover, not all staff may be experts on the new procedures and services, since it is new to them. So, it will be more difficult for them to help customers. But customer service may be enhanced, since a merger sometimes increases, rather than decreases, the number of reps. This means customers could be helped more easily. So now we know how M&A affects different groups of people. Let's go into examples of successful and unsuccessful mergers and acquisitions. To help you better understand this, we will take a look at specific cases of successful and unsuccessful mergers. Let's first look at successful mergers. There are many successful mergers and acquisitions, such as Google and YouTube, Geely and Volvo, and Haier and General Electric. Today, we will take a closer look at the successful merger of the Walt Disney Company and Pixar. Let's give some background on Disney and Pixar. The Walt Disney Company is an American mass media and entertainment group. It was founded in 1923 and began making films in 1930. It has made world-famous cartoons and films, including Mickey Mouse, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin. Disney is one of the largest media and entertainment corporations in the world. It owns 11 theme parks and several television networks. Pixar is an American computer animation film studio. It began in 1979 as part of the Lucasfilm computer division. In 1986, it became a corporation thanks to funding from Steve Jobs of Apple. It has produced a total of 19 feature films, including Toy Story and Coco. In 2006, Disney and Pixar merged. Disney acquired $7.4 billion worth of shares in Pixar and made it their subsidiary. Since then, it has been considered to be one of the most successful mergers ever. So, why did the two corporations decide to merge? First, Disney had released all of Pixar's movies before. It was proven already that working with Disney had led to past success. So, Disney and Pixar signed a contract to merge so they could have free and easy collaboration. What is a contract? A contract is a written document that defines the rules in a relationship. Second, both companies could profit from each other. Pixar could focus on creating wonderful animations, while Disney would handle the sales, marketing, and merchandising. To prove how successful the merger was, let's compare revenue before and after the merger. Here is the revenue of the movies released before the merger. And here is the revenue of the movies after the merger. We can see that the merger was clearly a success. The average revenue per movie nearly tripled. But why was the merger so successful? Let's look at some of the key reasons. First, Disney was able to make use of Pixar's characters in its vast networks. One example of this was Cars, which profited $5 million just in retail revenue. Another reason is Pixar's transformational leadership was brought to Disney. Pixar had a great ability to lead and motivate employees, and Disney adopted this. Also, Pixar was allowed to keep much of its previous culture. From Disney and Pixar's success, it's hard to imagine a merger going wrong. But in reality, mergers are more likely to fail than marriages. According to a recent Harvard Review business report, there is a 70 to 90% chance that a merger will fail. So, we just talked about a very famous successful merger. Now it's time to analyze a famous merger that failed. The merger was between Google and Motorola Inc. Let's give some background to start. Google is a multinational technology company. It specializes in internet-related services and products. These services include search, software, hardware, and cloud computing. Motorola Inc. was a multinational telecommunication company. They are famous for producing wireless phones and wireless network equipment. In 2011, the company was divided into two companies, Motorola Mobility and Motorola Solutions. Motorola Mobility took on the company's consumer-oriented product lines, like mobile phones. Motorola Solutions retained the company's enterprise-oriented product lines, like radio systems. Less than 1 year after Motorola Mobility became an independent company, Google acquired them. The goal was to accelerate innovation and choice in mobile computing. They wanted to create top-tier mobile devices. What happened, however, was a different story. Motorola had a sudden fall in value. Not only did they release mediocre phones, they broke their promise to upgrade older phones to the latest Android OS. Motorola originally mentioned they would upgrade the operating system of a number of phones for 18 months after they were released. This greatly increased sales. But this promise was broken. Motorola never upgraded these phones to the latest Android OS, and customers were outraged. Their reputation was heavily damaged, and they were seen as an untrustworthy brand. So, Google decided to keep releasing its own branded phones under Nexus brand. These devices were manufactured by other companies, which reduced the value of the Motorola acquisition. After just 2 years, Google sold Motorola to Lenovo. Well, that's all for mergers and acquisitions. Let's quickly review what we've discussed. First, we talked about mergers and acquisitions and their purposes. Second, we discussed how mergers and acquisitions affect companies, employees, and customers. And third, we analyzed 2 examples of successful and unsuccessful mergers. I hope now you have a better understanding of mergers and acquisitions. So, based on what you have learned today, do you think Mobike and Ofo should merge? What would the benefits be? Would the merger last? It's not easy to predict if a merger will be successful or not. If it was, every merger would be successful. But we do know how much mergers and acquisitions change the world's economy. And by having a better understanding of this, we can better understand the world we live in. Thanks for coming to class, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.